warm good morning to all and welcome to the second day of the 2019 Geneva Forum on China's high-tech repression and freedom of religion. So welcome you all, and we hope those who had attended yesterday's session had enjoyed the first two sessions of the forum, China's high-tech, the technology and the future of human rights. And the second session was on high-tech repression of people of faith in China. And those who are here and attending, able to attend the session for today only, we warmly welcome you all. Okay. So may I request and invite the moderator of the third session, Beijing Export of Surveillance Technology, my colleague, Ms. Tile Chugila, the special appointee for the Tibet Bureau here in Geneva, and the panelist, Tenzin Dalala, Digital and Chinese Cyber Security Research Fellow, Tibet Policy Institute, Dr. Chen Yon-Sang, Chairman of the Board of New School for Democracy and Taipei Municipal Consultant, and Colonel retired Venayak Bath, Satellite Imagery Analyst. Okay, thank you so much, and Ms. Tilila, now the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candela. Ladies and gentlemen, Tashdele, bonjour, and a very warm good morning to all, and also to the viewers of the live stream happening through the Tibet TV online. As Candela just briefly said, yesterday was the first day of the 2019 Geneva Forum, China's high-tech repression and freedom of religion. And it was a very, very interesting and insightful session which highlighted the human rights violations that are happening by the usage, or should I say the abuse of technology by China. And today I have the honor of moderating this esteemed panel on the theme of Beijing's export of surveillance technology. Now, interestingly, China is not only manufacturing and using the technology against the vulnerable people, especially the so-called ethnic minorities, including Tibetans, Uyghurs, Southern Mongolians, and many others. It is also exporting these surveillance tools and technology to other countries. It is very important to note that China has once again been ranked as the worst abuser of internet freedom by the Freedom House in its Freedom on the Net 2019 report. Now, before we start the session, I just have 3 important points to highlight. The first one being that if you think these surveillance and the human rights abuses are happening in some remote place of China, the names of which you have never heard, I think you have to think again, because you are being watched. It is very interesting to note that China has been exporting this technology, the surveillance technology, to many of the countries, and those countries might be the countries that you come from, that you belong to. Secondly, it's only going to get worse from here. Because, 1, the Belt and Road Initiative, it is nothing but a way to get into your homes and to watch you. It's very, should I say, worrisome to read a very recent report by Christopher Balding, an associate professor, who said, and in fact proved the links of the Chinese military to the Huawei company. He went through many of these CVs and saw, I think there were around 14 to 20 CVs that he went through, and saw that these military officers were holding important positions in this company. And this company is going to enter your country. On the brighter side, because I don't want to start the session with two dooming messages. The Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression and Opinion, in its latest report titled Surveillance and Human Rights, has said that the states should come forward and impose a moratorium on the export of these so-called surveillance technology. And one of the major recommendations by this Special Rapporteur is that the states should join the non-binding Wassenaar Agreement or Arrangement on export controls for conventional arms and dual-use goods and technologies. Now, as this, the name of the agreement or the arrangement states, it is a non-binding. There are few countries which have entered into this arrangement, and very, very interestingly, China is definitely not a member of this arrangement. So, with these three important points to be highlighted, I would like to start the session. Our first speaker of the session, a dear colleague, Mr. Tenzin Dala. Please permit me to read out his brief biography. He is a research fellow at the Tibet Policy Institute of the Central Tibetan Administration. He received his MPhil degree in journalism and communication from the University of Madras in 2014. His current field of research is digital and Chinese cybersecurity policy. His other research interests include digital freedom, Chinese cybersecurity, surveillance, and censorship policies. He has presented papers at various national and international forums and has contributed commentaries to various prestigious platforms. Prior to joining the TPI, he worked as a freelance journalist, contributing mainly through photography and videos for a documentary film. And please let me add that he is, in fact, one of the most encouraging researcher and upcoming researcher that we have at TPI. Please, Mr. Dalai, it's your floor.
Thank you, Tili Chugila, for the wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here. Today I'm going to talk about Beijing's export of surveillance technology. So recently, while I'm going through this kind of research, many things has happened, and I decided to write a paper on that particular topic. So what I found is that imagine yourself that how would you feel if your every move and decisions were tracked, recorded, and ranked. Nobody really wants camera to follow them everywhere they go. Welcome to China, where the Chinese government is experimenting a new system of surveillance as part of its overt and covert expansion of surveillance and interventions. This surveillance system is increasingly showing up all around the world. So my research is based on these 6 topics. So subcategories are based on China's export of surveillance technologies. China is widely expanding its surveillance network to strengthen and maintain vigilance of its entire populace by tracking people's movement through cell phones and monitoring contents of telephonic conversation and emails. Attempt by the government to transform the internet into a system of surveillance and censorship represent a threat to media freedom and democracy at large. This paper examined the alarming rate of China's export of surveillance technology, widespread harms this manufactures has caused, and its implications. Through this paper, I intend to contribute a new understanding of the motive of China's export surveillance technology and bringing attention particularly emphasize on rapid surveillance investment in Tibet. So it's crystal clear that among the internet users around the world, China always ranked the world's largest internet users. Attempt by the government to transform the internet into a system of surveillance and censorship represent a fundamental threat to media freedom. As March of 2019, China had 839 million internet users, which it shows the penetration rate of internet users in China is 59%. So if we go through the cities in China, they are under the heavy CCTV surveillance in the world, according to a new analysis by the Comparetech, which provide information for research and Comparetech. And it shows that China today has around 200 million CC cameras in use, a figure which will rise 213% by 2022, which will increase to 626. It will project that in 2022, one CC camera per 2 person. So this kind of surveillance will happen inside China at 22. If you go, sorry. Sorry. Oh, can you please stop? Another striking corroboration of China's sophisticated surveillance system in the widespread use of highly advanced cameras with artificial intelligence, which have facial recognition system. If you go through this graph, we can clearly see that among the 10 most surveillance cities around the world, 8 comes by China. 8 cities in China are the most surveillance cities in the world, including Chongqing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Tianjin, Jinan, Wuhan, Guangzhou, Beijing. So most of these cities are also of strategic importance to China. So since Xi Jinping came into power, so he tried to tighten his power grip on technology and surveillance. He called for standing cooperation with the countries along the Belt and Road initiatives. And he's talking about the internet infrastructure, digital economy to build a digital Silk Road on 21st century. So he has implemented a new strategies inventing like China's new cybersecurity law, launch of cyberspace administration of China, and social critic system. The China cybersecurity law, which was passed on 2016 November 7, has been implemented into 1st June of 2017. So this widely aims to tighten the censorship, but will end up curbing competitions among Chinese cyber administrations. So basically, the law also serves as a barrier to global infrastructures who want to operate inside China. They want to ask for Chinese authorities to put their agenda and their manuscript to a local server, which is run by the Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba. So recently, CCP seeks to strengthen its internet monitoring by replacing the new cybersecurity czar. So Wang Yingwang was replaced by Zhu Rongjin. So Xi Jinping introduced the cyber administration of China in 2014. From 2014 till 2019, 4 cyber czars has been constantly changed. So it shows that Wang Yingzong has been expert in digital technologies. So it shows that they are going to more tighten and censorship for the surveillance of technologies. For the first time, Communist China, the key motive for gathering, analyzing, and evaluating data is to preempt and undercover the threat of social and political stability of its iron grip on China. It is indeed for the first time that a government is employing a highly advanced technology to advance internet surveillance and censorship to maintain the stability rule of China. China uses surveillance technology to spy on human rights defenders, dissidents, lawyers, deny freedom of speech, and subvert anti-communist party campaigns. This abuse of technology fundamentally undermines democracy and threatens human rights. Regarding the social critic system, the point system in which citizens get incentive with their lawfulness, integrity, and trustworthiness, with real-time impacts on citizens can and cannot do. Perks like good behavior could lead to a privilege of faster internet connection, travel ticket booking convenience in flight and trains, And even concession advance deposit for renting cars and booking hotels, having a low social credit scores could mean restriction on traveling, refusal of passport, difficulty in getting employment, and being publicly shamed, among others. China's National Public Credit Information Centers prepared that it has cancelled airline tickets of 17.5 million people due to their unproductive scores, and 5.5 million were barred from booking train tickets in 2008 because of low social credit systems. So even some of the Uyghur peoples were also put behind a concentration camp because of having a low social credit systems. China's technological power grip around the world. For the first time, Communist Party of China's key motive behind for gathering, analyzing, and evaluating data is to preempt and undergo many threats. So in China, artificial systems directly affect domestic power, control, and surveillance, helping internal security force process massive amount of information, including social media posts, text message, voice message, email, and phone calls more effectively and efficiently. We can easily identify social trends and track individuals who might threaten to regions based on the information uncovered by these systems. For instance, Chinese government continues to use surveillance systems during the wide-scale crackdowns in ethnic minority regions. According to the People's Daily, the party-owned largest newspaper group in China, the Chinese capital of Beijing is now completely covered by surveillance cameras that watch over every corner of Beijing's citizens. Authoritarian governments across globes are acquiring state-of-the-art technology to repress dissident at rapid pace for construction of smart cities in Pakistan, Philippines, and Kenya. Chinese companies, including Huawei and ZTE, are involved in supplying expensive built-in internet-connected cameras and provide 24/7 intelligent security surveillance with data analyze and detect crime and manage traffics. So China's export of surveillance technology began in 2008 during the Beijing's Olympic, where it marketed its surveillance mechanism and solutions. Prior to Olympic, 300,000 new cameras were installed in the capital. China then invited many foreign officials to observe the effectiveness of its new authoritarian technologies' advanced tools. Since then, the party has exported its solutions to many countries with severe human rights record, including, but not limited to, Ecuador, Venezuela, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Kenya, Iran, and Zimbabwe. China's collaboration with authoritarian governments across the globe to build a large surveillance system has given rise to global threat and freedom of privacy and speech. This is just an example of the surveillance system that run in Ecuador. Those are created by China. So with China's help, Ecuador now has the new surveillance systems, ECU 911, meant to expand automatic policing and reduce crime rate. This $200 million deal was jointly signed by China's state-controlled CEIEC and Huawei, and funded by Chinese loans in exchange with Ecuador's providing them with its principal exploit all. Ecuador's surveillance systems were not only made in China, but also installed by Chinese companies and workers. Chinese even trained the Ecuadors to how to use these surveillance technologies. China's export of surveillance technology is a slow strength and capacity to the world. It represents the country's ability to compete with established power, notably the US, in important sectors, reducing dependence and promoting self-reliance. This seriousness of providing security threats from Chinese companies is evident from the US notable restrictions or outright prohibitions of companies such as Huawei. This US also encouraged its allies to do the same. Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, and US and Canada have all adopted measures to restrict the use of Huawei device and Chinese infrastructure. Iron Curtain of Tibetans in Tibet in Chinese have been shut for long term, and the entire region is off limit for free and independent visit of international journalists, media, advocates, researchers, and government civil society representatives. These highly representatives situation inside Tibet makes it difficult to understand the scope of digital surveillance in the region. Over the years, China's surveillance system in Tibet has been growing and evolving at the unprecedented scale. The evidence of manned and unmanned checkpoint, artificial intelligence, CCTV camera networks, and re-education centers grab the national security and have added another layer of control to already extreme control and operates environment in Tibet. Furthermore, the CCP is constantly upgrading its Great Firewall of China to monitor and limit online and offline traffic by creating its own internet and limiting access to traditional web. Chinese authorities in Tibet are offering large cash reward to informants to beat or stamp out online subversive activities, curbing free flow of information and dissemination of information. According to a notice issued on February 28 by Government Department of so-called Tibet Autonomous Region, information leading to arrest of social media users deemed disloyal to China can fish to 300,000 yen, equivalent to $42,582. People sharing political content or commentary deemed sensitive, they face arrest and criminal injustice. Surveillance in Tibet and Xinjiang have been widely known as surveillance. In addition to the traditional system, surveillance. So this is just an example of the China's modern surveillance system in Tibet. So. The picture which shows that prayer wheel hanging on the there, it is just used for a street light normally, but in lieu of that, they use a CC camera surveillance every corner of Bargo and Tibet Autonomous Region. So these cameras are rapid number in race. So the camera is just a disguise, showing just a prayer wheel hanging on up there using as a street light, but in reality they use it for other purpose. New digital surveillance efforts include mandatory collection of DNA samples, Wi-Fi networks monitoring, and widespread implementation of facial and voice recognition to all connected and integrated data analysis platforms. According to Wall Street Journal study of police department documents from across China, the Chinese authorities plan to double their current DNA trove to 100 million records by 2020. DNA samplings for Tibetans on the Tibetan plateau is widespread under the use of mandatory medical checkups aimed to controlling the movement of Tibetan people and further restrict their freedom. I recently interviewed a new arrival from Tibet. He confirmed that at the beginning of July 2013, Tibetans in cities and villages are being asked to undergo free medical checkup and blood samples has been controlled. So he said that there is a political agenda behind for collecting and giving a free medical care, unlike usual. One of my colleagues who is working at Tibet Policy, he also believes that China might extend its profiling of DNA samples to even foreign tourists, including Tibetans from India and Western countries visiting Tibet. Also, CCP's security spending has increased exponentially since 2008. German-based researcher Anderson has reported that TAR has the higher per capita domestic security expenditures of all provinces and regions. In 2016, per capita domestic security expense in Sikyong province, Tibetan regions were nearly 3 times higher than Sikyong province as a whole. The researcher further concerns China's intention launch of Huawei 5G networks, which will make it easier to deploy sensors and enable quick transfers of high volumes of data and real-time analysis. Companies facilitating digital surveillance in Tibet include Alibaba search engines, Baidu chat app operator Tencent Holdings, voice recognition, flight deck, facial recognition system, SenseTime. State subsidize these technologies to establish inside Tibet. To invest and employ their latest technologies, company operating in Tibet enjoys a highly reduced tax rate of 9% as compared to the standard corporate tax rate 25% for the rest of China. So in gist, the non-transparent and unchecked export and adoption of China's highly advanced technology to foreign markets represent a severe intelligence and security threats, especially when integrated directly to national security and surveillance apparatus. China has successfully integrated direct to national securities, safety, security, and dissident and activists all around the world and strengthened rough and democratic regimes with export of surveillance technologies. Surveillance information stream can be realistically used in two ways: as target micro-informant to gain leverage on important target and as a means to gather and employ big data. This use of which is essentially endless in the sense there is little no transparency nor accountability to impose very high security threat. Exporting the surveillance model is also a strategic move by CCP to further test its models, apply its variable context, and gather additional data and intelligence. The party gains a direct access into partner state information streams, advances information about market business opportunities, important actors, extras. And inside Tibet, over the last decade, nets in the sky and traps on the ground have further suppressed the fundamental freedom of expression, movement, and assembly. New and highly advanced technologies have given unrestricted and illicit power to state security apparatus to intensify and escalate mass surveillance. Checkpoints with smart surveillance and facial recognitions are present in cities and crossing between neighboring district and province. Tibetans inside their homes are tracked through their phones and they step outside, surveillance and facial recognition technologies follow them whenever they go. This is reality of today's Tibet, and if the free world is unwilling to restrict the import of China's technology, this could be your tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jalala, for that wonderful presentation. I think it's very, very appalling to know, as you highlighted, that the Beijing Olympics, which Olympics in itself stands for many important human values, was used as a market tool or a base for marketing the technology and the surveillance system. And also, as you highlighted, that the Tibetans, the Chinese, the so-called ethnic minorities are being tracked and watched 24/7. You also highlighted, it brings me a lot of worry that free medical checkups are being used as a guise to collect the DNA of the Tibetans and the innocent ethnic minorities. And now the problem has come where the tourists, the Western tourists, the Tibetan tourists who are going to visit Tibet and many other places in China, their DNA samples are also being monitored and collected. And also, I think it was very, very crucial what you pointed out, that what has happened in Tibet can be the reality of many of the countries that are importing these surveillance technology. Thank you so much, Dalla. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Chen Yuan-Teng, who is the chairman of the board of New School for Democracy and Taipei Municipal Consultant. He holds a PhD in law from the Graduate Institute of National Development, National Taiwan University, a bachelor's in law from Suzhou University, and master's degree from Sun Yat-sen Memorial Graduate Institute of Interdisciplinary Studies, National Chengchi University. Dr. Zhang was an associate professor at Tsinghua University and also served as a researcher of Promoting Transitional Justice Commission. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you for Sikyong and the Tibet Friends invitation. It's my great honor to present my speech here. The topics of my speech is subduing the enemy without fighting, rather infiltration and surveillance in Taiwan. I want to introduce Taiwan's experience about how to resist against China's electronic infiltration. This is Taiwan and China's the map. The red island is Taiwan. So and the flag, the right side is Taiwan's national flag. The left is 5 stars of China flag. So Taiwan and China indeed is a different country. We have a different sovereignty, but China claim Taiwan is a part of China. So China boycott Taiwan's sovereignty status in the international community. So, for example, Taiwan is not a member of United Nations. So Taiwan's the official cannot enter into the land of United Nations. So because I am not official, I am a citizen, so I can go to I can enter into the United Nations freely. And China want to apply one country, two system, the legal framework on Taiwan. He want Taiwan as Hong Kong, the same legal status. That means Taiwan become a autonomy area under China's administration. So how to achieve the goal? The key method is the Taiwan's people's their confidence, their loyalty to Taiwan's country. So China and Taiwan's the campaign is a ideological struggle. So I try to analyze the China how to subdue Taiwan by the SWOT framework. The strengths for China, Taiwan is I described undefended open society. Taiwan indeed is an open society. We have no published act. We have no cyber security law. We have no film or drama review system. Taiwan is very very open and very free. So some in some sense it is undefended for everything. But weakness for China, Taiwan is an anti-communist society because under Kuomintang authoritarian rule, Kuomintang was anti-communist regime. So we now, Taiwanese has the anti-communist legacy in most Taiwanese mind. But the opportunities for China is the business interest, because Taiwan and China, we have the same language, same culture. So Taiwanese businessmen or Taiwanese business, they are easy to enter into China's markets. And they can use China's human resource and China's natural resource to produce everything and export to the world worldwide. So Taiwan and China has a very deep economic connection. So the business interest is an opportunity for China government to buy Taiwan. But the threat for China is Taiwan's people. They has the independent personality consciousness from the individual to every ethnic people and to all the Taiwan people. So next year January, we will hold a popular election to elect Taiwan's president and congressman. So I try to analyze the strategies for China to how to subdue Taiwan. One is the United Front work. United Front work in our general speaking language or terms means public relationship. China government and the communists, they make many public relationship and the contest in Taiwan's people. So many, I think almost everyone, Taiwan's for example, Taiwan's scholar or Taiwan students, they have many opportunities to visit China by China government's reception for very cheap fees. The second is external propaganda. You want to, its goal is to want to brainwashing Taiwan's people's ideology and the sharp point of view, what point of view, the unity, the China unity, the consciousness. And the third is infiltration and surveillance through the approach, for example, organization, action, artificial intelligence. I will explain. In the United Front work, China government, they have a very clear map on Taiwan. They indicate 10 target groups in Taiwan for their United Front work. So I describe it as Taiwan and China civil wars or international wars won the battle. One is grassroots village, to everyone village. Everyone village is his leader. Everyone has the opportunity to receive to China for traveling. The second is the youth and the students. The third, Chinese sports. Chinese sports, they has the freedom to form their society, their association, and even they can protest Taiwan's government policy towards China on the street. The fourth, the indigenous people, because indigenous people generally their economic is more poor than average Taiwanese. So China government they can use the money interest to affect the indigenous people. The fifth are pro-China political parties and political groups, because Taiwan is the constitution protect Taiwanese people's freedom to collect political parties. So in Taiwan there are many parties. They claim not only unity, unification with China, even they claim the communism or socialism. And the sixth is religious temples, because Taiwan there are very many temples, different religions. So many temples they have no money. So China government can donate the temple. And the fellow villagers, because for example, I was received to China for traveling, and I can introduce my neighbor or my relative to China. And the next is farmers and the fishers. Farmers and the fishers, because Taiwan now is an industrial state, so agriculture industry is they have to find a new direction to develop. So China government give them the opportunities. And the 10th is a retired general. Because in Taiwan's law, according to Taiwan law, if the general you retired, you have no any duty for the country. So the general, when they retired, they are invited by China's army for many exchange activities. For example, play golf or visiting or academic conference, even the China's national ceremony. The part of external propaganda. I think there are at least three mechanics. The first is control of media and the new media by investment. China's government or China government relational business. They invested Taiwan's corporation, and it can control the manager and the editing direction. So investment, and the second editing review. For example, the China Times, the newspaper, is a popular newspaper in Taiwan. As I know, their everyday newspaper, the most news, the China government asked them to fax to Beijing for China government's review every day. So China government can through control Taiwan's media, Taiwan's mass media, and they think they can to affect Taiwan people's thinking. So many media it will self-censorship. And the second, the method is the content farm. For example, 15-cent party, net army business. The content farm, the content is for China rising and the Taiwan decline by fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. Because the content farm, they supply the fake content on the internet, on the cyber. If the mass media report, in a short time, it will form the Taiwan people's imagination. Is it true or is it false? In the short time, he cannot differ. So you can confuse Taiwanese people's thinking. The third is infiltration and surveillance by organization, affect, and control. For example, mainland Taiwanese business, for example, Sikyong, Wang, China government give them financial subsidies. This business, they are very rich, but China government still give them financial subsidies. And the second is private university, because private university, they need students. They need students' tuition fees. The third, mass media. For example, Wang's China Times, the TVBS, and the radio station by advertisement or any other. Then is the political party. For example, Kuomintang, New Party, Unity Promotion Party, and the underworld organization, mafia, Bamboo Union, they received the communists the money, temple, and the civil society through the social media, content farm, and to affect the fans group. The second method is the action indication. For some specific topics, encourage Taiwanese people or Taiwan's some group to hold the street parade or protest against the Taiwan government. The second, keep someone under surveillance. Keep someone, maybe someone's, for example, almost Taiwan's scholars, I believe, their internet, their email is almost under China's government's watch. The first is espionage and detective. Espionage is maybe the China's the official, but detective is business contract by business contract. They can hire Taiwan locals detective to watch Taiwan people or Hong Kong's guests in Taiwan. And the final is the special report, because they can provide some money and through the contract for Taiwan scholar to write some special report for Beijing government or their think tank. The final is a monitor. For example, by facial recognition, cyber money through the email account, the smartphone. So, how can we do? I try to provide some suggestion. The first is in Taiwan, we need a law or act about foreign agent registration. Because it can let Taiwan people know who provide the news, who encourage some public issue, and then you can to decide if you want to believe or not to believe. The second is the prohibition of Chinese surveillance in government and the public sectors. Because Chinese goods are very cheap. So in Taiwan government, many public sector include university. They buy surveillance from China, and recently many people they know maybe in the China's schools they have the watch system, and in the university or school education we have to improve the media literacy education, and in the civil society now we erect a fact check and the news error correction system, and the cyber security. I think the country, the government should see the cyber security as national defense. And the final, I think is very important, is we should to erect international guideline on surveillance abuse. Because in Taiwan, although Taiwan is an open society, but if in the international community there is an international guideline, it will let Taiwan people know in the open society cannot agree, cannot permit they don't respect the freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sen. Your presentation, especially on saying that China's attempt on converting Taiwan into an Hong Kong, and we all know what is happening in Hong Kong, was very insightful, especially your study on the various strategies that China is using to control Taiwan, be it the United Front work or the external propaganda by which, spreading fake news and disinformation, and also the infiltration and surveillance level, going to an extent of using even the mafia against the Taiwanese. Thank you so much. Next, we have the presentation by Colonel Vinayak Bhatt. Permit me to read his biography. Colonel Vinayak Bhatt is a satellite imagery specialist who served in the Indian Army for over 3 decades. He obtained his Bachelor's of Science from Jawaharlal Nehru University in 1981 and also received distinction in Chinese language from the School of Foreign Languages in 1990. He has worked on satellite imagery analysis with keen interest in nuclear field, especially under nuclear cycle, nuclear weapons, and their storage facilities, and has also covered mining, milling, and calculations through satellite imagery, covering mainly China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, North Korea, Iran, Syria, and Libya extensively. He has published 150 reports and has been awarded with the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card twice while in service. And please permit me to also add that I had the honor of listening to him at the Tibet Policy Institute talk on his very interesting report on the increase and rise of gulags, which are nothing but concentration camps in Tibet. Over to you, Colonel.
Thank you, Ms. Thinley. Sikyong, sir, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all. So I'll be covering a little bit of religious suppression by the Chinese and how they undertake the global surveillance. This is what the Sikyong was talking yesterday about the Lama Lasso, the Vision Lake. This place is showing the post which has been created by the Chinese. And this is the lake. At the moment, in this image, it is seen as frozen. But you can see the post which has been created. It has been mainly created so that the monks cannot undertake circumambulation of that area. Neither can monks go and pray there, sit there and pray. This is the Chokargyal monastery, which is very close by. It was earlier destroyed by Chinese. And now they have constructed a small little building as the monastery in that place. This is where the lamas go, stay there, pray at the lake, and get the vision for the successors. That is not being allowed by the Chinese. With the post coming up, it is very, very clear what the Chinese intentions are. This is the sky burial location, which is on top of the Blue Mountain, which is the abode of Lamo Palden. Well, you can see the Chinese post which has been created with the communication antennas. Even there, you are being monitored very, very closely. These are the gulags. I wish our Uyghur friends were here today. This is one Haji Kamaili. This is bang in the center of the town. And a gulag is being run there. You can see the kind of wire fences which are there. These wire fences and the perimeter fence, which is very, very high. This is what tells us that a gulag, not even a labor camp, the Chinese call it re-education camps. I really wonder what they are trying to re-educate an adult of 50 years who is already educated. It is only religious subjugation and nothing else. They're trying to separate children from the parents. They are kept in separate barracks, separate prisons. You can see the wire fences are very, very clear. And the moment the US and other people reported about these wire fences, they were removed. This is one of the cemeteries in Urumqi. Well, the Chinese are not letting you rest in peace even after the death. The Islamophobia is so dangerous there that they are not allowing the cemeteries to remain there anymore. They're exhuming the remains and putting them in smaller places in the name of beautification of the area. The lower portion is after, the first one on the top is before image. Here is another cemetery which has been completely obliterated and new infrastructure has come in. The lower image half you can see, that is after. You can see the road and the malls which have come up. This is the third cemetery. A new road is about to be constructed. In Keria, the cemetery has been exhumed. Notice the area. You can see the exhumed graves just for a road to go through. The road could have just skirted the cemetery and gone. But no, the Chinese want to humiliate. These are the exhumed graves. And even after exhuming the graves, having smaller graves in particular places. This one is Koktag Cemetery in Urumqi. There again exhuming the remains from the smaller graves to further smaller graves. Even smaller, like a person was probably lying in lying position, now he is in sitting position. So that is the kind of humiliation people have to undergo. This one is the Zokhang in Lhasa. It was, everybody knows, it was burnt in last year. The reasons for the fire was not known. Well, it was rebuilt very soon. Not as soon as it was possible. But then for the Chinese, comparatively, they've constructed it sooner. But then it has a Communist Party flavor now. What do you have? Recent pictures show, you see on the top left corner, it says Vaita the Chungko Kung Tang Tang Wan Sui. So long live CPC. So that is the banner which they have put up on the Zokhang, the main monastery. We really don't know what has happened to the texts and whatever scriptures were there. Some rumors say that they have been shifted to this place called the Tibetan Buddhist Academy. It is a theological institute which has been created by China, and in 2017 they have expanded it. But what do you see? You see all the hostels are gated very badly. The monks, irrespective of their seniority, have been put in one place. Like seniors are put in with juniors and there is no distinction. Here you can see the same gulag kind of fences. Even where the scriptures and texts are kept inside a perimeter fence, this is another second layer of fence, which is not required at all. Well, the subjugation is Islam. They're dubbing it as Sinicization. This portion I am showing of Ningxia, Hui and Gansu provinces, they're central China. Notice the domes of the mosque. They have been changed to Han-style domes. The normal Islamic style of domes are round-shaped. They've been changed now. Most of the mosques in Ningxia Hui, that is the major population of Hui Islamic people, they're all changed. And what the Chinese government is doing is it is going to the houses, getting signs from the individuals saying that we want renovation of the mosque. It has become old now and we need renovation. The moment renovation word comes in, they say, okay, we'll renovate, remove the dome and make it into a Han style. In this particular Wuchung mosque, probably the population did not agree. So the mosque remained for almost a year without any dome. And now finally you see it without the dome. So China has decided that this mosque will remain without any dome at all. This is another case where the dome has been removed, kept down below. You can see it. The golden one is the dome which was there earlier. Now a new dome has come. Let's come on to surveillance. What does China plan? It wants to do surveillance of anything and everything throughout the globe. The entire world they want to have a control over. So I'll be covering it in three space, land and over water, and then underwater. What does China plan for the global surveillance? It has Peito satellite constellations which are moving. One part is in the GEO, the second part is in the medium Earth orbit, and the third one is lower Earth orbits. All the satellites from GEO will get the data and then feed on to MEO. Wherever they want particular surveillance, they'll go down to lower Earth orbit so that they can have a look from a closer angle. There are trials for satellites going on with arms. They can catch other countries' satellites. But what China claims is it is for removal of the space debris. Space debris in the US is considered a very big problem. But now, with this, China is having military implications for that satellite. Now, how does China keep track of other countries' satellites? They have this kind of satellite tracking stations at 2 places in the world today. Earlier they used to have it in 3, now they have it only in 2. This one is the satellite tracking station in Namibia. And the second one is in Argentina. The dish antennas are almost 35 meters in size. The parabolic antenna can go deeper into space. Almost 30,000 kilometers it can see through. This is Peito trials in Pakistan. Pakistan is the only country which has established Peito satellite tracking station. And this is what the satellite imagery shows, the trials going on very near to Karachi. This is the dish antenna and other equipment. China also has these Yuanwang ships. This one particular is Yuanwang 7. This is the latest. It has all modern gadgetry to track satellites, missiles also. Missile ranging and instrumentation is the best on this particular ship. And they are moving these kind of ships all over the world. This is at home port near Shanghai. This particular one shows the same ship, either Yuanwang 5 or 6, in Suva, Fiji, southeast of Australia. You can imagine the reach of their ships and their surveillance measures. Inside China, they have something called LPARs, large phased array radars. They can see at a distance of almost 25 to 30,000 kilometers. The exact range is not known. This particular one at Korla is facing India at the moment. It is rotatable. You can rotate it towards Russia also. It also has a number of labs which are tracking satellites. They say that it is only monitoring their own satellites, but obviously they can monitor other satellites also. You can see the dome opening. And these are the directed energy weapons facilities. China has 6 of them in place. This particular one was meant for trials. It started somewhere in 2011. Now they have completely established. This is the place in 4 things, their sliding roofs. The theory is the right ones, 2 of them are meant for tracking and the left 2 are meant for hitting the satellite. In South China Sea, most of the islands which have been created by China, they have these kind of radars which look through almost up to 1,000 kilometers. This is another satellite tracking station which is on Fiery Cross. This is Crow's Nest radar on Subi Reef. This again can look through beyond 500 kilometers. Well, China also has certain places created. This one in Cambodia at Dara Sakor. This has a resort. China says it is a resort, but most of the satellite imagery experts know that it is not so. This is a facility created for the PLA to come and stay anytime. It has a naval pier very close to it. It also has a runway which is almost 3,200 meters. For one small little resort, it is this building only. So maximum number of guests would be 1,000 in that particular location. For 1,000 people, you don't create a new airport. You don't create a naval pier. This is Hambantota. This is how everywhere China is having their own people who are doing surveillance activities. This one again has Colombo. This is the reclaimed land area. Maldives. Hulumale Airport has this second airstrip which has been expanded by the Chinese. Earlier, the contract was given to India, but something happened, the government changed, the president was arrested, and that is how the contract went to China. And the compensation, Indian company had asked, $875 million has been given. Imagine that kind of money is being exchanged just to have control. This is the Friendship Bridge, what China calls. It is constructed between the capital Male and Hulumale. Earlier they used to move in between through ships only. And this is the Chinese embassy. They again have something like satellite tracking station there. On top you can see the dish antennas. Well, these are the Chinese ships in Karachi. Now they have been given to Pakistan Navy. Most of the Pakistan Navy ships and submarines are all Chinese origin. This is Gwadar port. Again, you know very well that China has taken control of that port. But till now, military presence has not been observed there. Another place is Oman, the Salalah port. It is visited very frequently by the Chinese Navy ships. Here you see one of their oilers. We all know very well about the military base in Djibouti. This particular place has all kinds of radars, it has all kinds of communication, and Djibouti is such a place from where they can monitor the entire traffic on the sea. And they are not bothered while constructing the base. They were doing underwater blasts. They were, mining in that area, doing anything and everything to construct. They're still onto it. There are 5 more piers supposed to come up. This is the underwater blast. And last year, we had seen some lasing incidents. The US Air Force aircrafts had reported it. The pilots faced it. Lasers are being used to track satellites and to hit at aircrafts. So this is a garrison of PLA outside of China in Tajikistan. Well, now let's come on to the underwater part. This is Fiji. China has donated them a hydrographic and oceanographic survey ship. It's one of the latest constructed by China. It's a small one. And recently there was a training ship called Sikyong, which was there in Suva. 8th November, it has moved out. So anything and everything is being used to keep surveillance of all the areas in the world. This one is a hydrographic survey ship. It's one of the largest of China at Colombo. The entire Indian Ocean region is being kept under surveillance. They do survey also. They have been moving around with Pakistan Navy mainly in the Arabian Sea. Well, China has also donated and some sold also submarines to Bangladesh. You can see 2 of them standing there. China has also very close cooperation with Karachi. Here you see a PLA Navy nuclear submarine. Firstly, submarines do not port at any other country than their own. But here you see a nuclear submarine which is being seen on the satellite imagery in Karachi. So you can imagine what kind of closeness they have. It is as if it is another port of China. Karachi has become another port of China. This is another nuclear submarine at a later date. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel, for starting with the kind of religious subjugation that is happening across the territories under the control of China, and also highlighting that after leading a life of subjugation and suppression, people are not even allowed to rest after death. And the wonderful analysis of all the satellite images and the control or the surveillance level of China over space, land, water, and underwater. I must say that it reminded me of my childhood days when I would ask my parents how they escaped and from Tibet, and they told that while they were escaping from the Chinese army, their only worry was the daylight, that they would be, worried that if they are seen, they might be killed, so they would travel in the night. But with this kind of militarization and high-tech technology, I think escaping from Tibet in this day, in the daylight or in the night, is quite impossible. And also that in Sanskrit you have the quote, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family, and the extent of infiltration and surveillance by China looks like the Chinese version of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is world is one big colony and it is ready to colonize. Thank you so much, Colonel. So I think with this expert panel, you will definitely have your questions. I would request you to please introduce yourself and place your questions to any of the particular experts. Over to the audience, please.
Hey, thank you very much. My name is Chiman, and I'm a student currently studying in Geneva. I have a question to Dr. Zhang about China's surveillance on in Taiwan. Like, what do you think about how will the 2020 presidential election in Taiwan, the results affect China's infiltration and surveillance strategy in Taiwan? Thank you.
Because China's equipment produce system, they have many cooperation with Taiwan's business. So Taiwan business they became a very important location for China government in Taiwan. So if Taiwan people has not the clear idea, clear mind, Taiwan's Congress won't pass an effective law to protect Taiwan's people's freedom. So I think the most important is not the infrastructure building construction. Most important is the idea, thinking. So for me, these conference topics is very important for Taiwanese people. They know an open society or democratic society. They still need we can call it a defensive democracy system. So that's what I can answer.
Next question. Yes, please.
Edward Chin from 2047 Hong Kong Monitor. Colonel, I want to ask you, not too many of us can have a sophisticated access to technology, satellite technology, but using Google Map, do you think we can, something layman can use, can track something easily? I don't know whether you could access to territories like you mentioned Pakistan and all that, right? And second thing, it has related to the movement in Hong Kong. I realized recently there's a lot of helicopters flying maybe just like 1,000 feet high. What do you think the law enforcement people try to do? Are they trying to look at the movement of the demonstrators, or do they have the capability to have like some sort of a facial recognition or AI already, like from your understanding and your experience? Thank you.
Google has most of the imagery, but it is dated. It is not the latest. So latest ones you have to purchase. But from the Google Earth also, you can see most of the things which are normally required. But for such a situation like Hong Kong, you can purchase imagery. You can also, ask the satellites to cover that area at particular times. So if somebody outside China wants to do surveillance of those particular helicopters and all, you can get to know. And I'm sure the US government must be monitoring the situation very well through satellites. But what China is doing through those helicopters has to be just to, it's a kind of a threat to the public down below. Yes, we are watching you. And this is what China wants to do. It wants to always and everywhere, it wants to win wars without fighting. It does not want to do anything just by threatening the people. They will try to control. Like yesterday you were talking about that particular color which was used in the sprays, the water sprays. It is only to identify those particular people. The moment they have blue color on their clothes, and it was sticky also, so one has to either go and change. And those particular people are identified. If they go anywhere else and create nuisance or whatever, demonstrate or protest, they will be identified. And that is what China wants to do, identify those people. Now, like today morning you were telling me, the students from outside the universities have come and they're doing protest. Well, that really, you cannot say so. I do not believe it. Who else is going to come there and protest other than the Hong Kongers? Just because they're slightly old does not mean they're outsiders. They're not outsiders. They have not come from outside Hong Kong. They're there. But surveillance only through helicopters is not done. They have smaller drones, handheld drones also, which can be used for surveillance.
May I just ask quickly, what can be sprayed from 1,000 feet high? Fluorescent stuff, what could that be? It's not water cannon from the helicopter. And people find them, they look kind of like a fluorescent color. So what could that be?
Helicopters are spraying?
Yeah.
No, that is just a threat. It is not any chemical weapon being used. No way. I don't believe that. It might be just, people might be feeling scratchy and all because it is some chemical which is being used. But I, as an individual, though I am all for the Hong Kongers, I would not say that it is any chemical weapons being used. I don't think so.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Good morning, and thank you to all the speakers. And my question is to Tenzin Dalla, and about the internet users. You said China has the highest quote. Although they have lots of restrictions, surveillances, and so on, how come this not India or USA has the highest quote of internet user? Why not the free world? And who are all these internet users in China? Is it the Chinese government itself, or how come this kind of quote?
Thank you for your question. Before I mentioned that China has one of the most internet users around the world, right? Exactly that. As compared to the Chinese population, China has one of the highest population in the world, right? So on the other side, China censor and they didn't allow international social media platforms inside China. Instead of that, they established homegrown social media and search engines. So there are lots of similarities. For example, if you want to search something in Google, instead of Google, they have Baidu. Instead of WeChat, they have Weibo. So the similarities are there, right? So they can't censor completely the internet shutdowns. So instead of that, they invented a similarity based on the user like. So by establishing this kind of concept, the number of internet users in China has been rapidly raised so far. So that's why it comes that the penetration rate itself is 59% and the user has increased to 840 million internet users in China. For example, also if we rely to Chinese homegrown social media platforms like WeChat, we can clearly see that the registration rate is above more than 1 billion registration rate a day. So the overall user is more than 900 million users. So it comes along most of the South Asia countries they are using those social media platforms. This is the kind of the things that is happening inside China. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot to say, introduce myself. My name is Norsum. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, this will be the last question before I hand over to the speakers to make their concluding remarks.
Thank you for all of your amazing sharing. And my name is Pik Shan Pan from Hong Kong Media Apple Daily. As China's National Intelligence Law came into effect in July 2017, it's not only the local Chinese that they have to defend the national security for the country, but those immigrants to other Western liberal country, they will be considered as a Chinese national first. And then what does the Western liberal world should take notes on this national intelligence law? Do you have any suggestions for that? Thank you.
Sorry, can you please repeat this question?
What should the Western liberal world should take notes on that introduced China National Intelligence Law in 2017, which require every Chinese citizens to be a spy or to collect the sensitive information for the country, so that it's not only controlling the local Chinese to defend their national security, but they will have to obligate to collect the sensitive information overseas in order to protect the Chinese national security. Do you think this is a threat for the Western liberal country? Especially we are experiencing the information war, fake news, disinformation, that the Chinese tend to converge the ideology of press freedom, freedom of expression. And then do you think any sensitive information that is not favorable for the propaganda of China, that every Chinese citizens have to be collecting information for China, even though they're immigrants to other country? What do you think? What should the Western liberal world should take notes on this?
On the one side, it is quite very sensitive to collect all these kind of data and informations, because China itself is working hard to collect all the data. So they are making progress on the collection of the big data stores. For example, Alipay data, and this one Tencent data. So local data servers also those companies who want to establish their business inside China as well as in abroad, those who are linked with China, so they compulsory made a law to make an investment of the data inside China, right? So that it shows that China want to legitimate their power and sovereignty of all the people's details information. So they could trace each and details of those in and outflow of information. So it is kind of a very threatening to the citizens. So the best to cope with these things is those who are residing in foreigners and who are having some dual citizens. They should have not involved with submitting all these data. They should be absent from giving the details of themselves for submitting the details of data and all this collection of information. This is just my idea, so I'm not sure about how far it has helped. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience other than questions? Thank you. I'll hand over to the speakers to make their concluding remarks. Dalala, if you have any final comments.
No, I would like to thank Office of Geneva and their Human Rights Desk for giving us this opportunity and making this conference a successful one. And especially Candela has been working so hard. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dalala. Dr. Chen.
China's concept of national security is different from Western world. At the same time, it's different from Taiwan. Especially for Xi Jinping, he expanded the concept national security to so-called total national security idea, include for some cultural security, environmental security, social society, many. Almost is connected with national security in China. And China's criminal procedural, they laid China's justice, their policemen, their national security officials, when they to deal with the case about national security, they can exclude the human protection provision in criminal procedural law. So that's why many Taiwanese people was accused in China because we have not the same national security idea as China. So I think many China overseas students, they started abroad in Western country or university has the responsibility for the people's, for the world's civilization to teach the Chinese overseas student what is the universal value, what is the personal identity, what is the fundamental human right freedom. I think it is very important. And I take an example of Taiwan. When China's students protest against Taiwan and Hong Kong's 反送中 movement, and the Taiwan government spared the Chinese citizen and Chinese student because they against Taiwan's universal value, but not by the law, by the audience for border regulation. But I think the same method it is useful for the overseas Chinese, for all the Chinese.
Thank you, Doctor. Colonel, in 1 minute, please.
About 10 years ago, you see, China was trying to tell the entire world that they will not have a foreign base, ever. Today, they have at least 2 bases, and one third one is coming up near Gwadar. Imagine what kind of mindset they have. They have already made up their mind what they want to do by 2050. And they are pursuing those policies. They are going ahead with another trial of underwater Great Wall in South China Sea. Everything that is moving underwater will be monitored. Every little ship that is moving through South China Sea will be monitored. And that is the kind of vision they are having for surveillance of the entire world. They are also going ahead with ASW ships. Construction of ships has become a big industry. Especially for PLA Navy, they are going in for amphibious ships. Now Type 75 is being constructed. The first one has just been launched, and the second one is already in halfway done. The third one has already started. James is saying the third one is almost ready for construction. The CVs are coming, frigates are coming. This is all happening just to keep control of the entire world. They are going ahead in every way. There has to be something done much beyond what is happening now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel. As we wrap up, I just wanted to give some of the major takeaways from this panel. One being that, as I said in the beginning, you are being watched. You are being watched over land, over water, from the sky, and underwater. And I think it is one of the major challenges to the international community to come up against this kind of pervasive surveillance, and also for the international bodies like the UN to ensure that China does not change the meanings, the meanings of human rights and what it stands for. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience.
Thank you, moderator, and our panelists for uncovering the height of China's multifaceted expansionism strategy to further infiltrate the world order. So thank you so much. And as a token of appreciation, may I request Secretary Kamachungla to kindly present event scarf and a small memento to say thank you very much for all your contribution and presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much, and now thank you so much. Now we have a coffee break for 30 minutes, and we'll resume at 11:40.
2019 Geneva Forum on the topic of China's high-tech repression and freedom of religion. The session that we are about to start is the witness account session. This is one of the sessions which we have added or incorporated in the Geneva Forum, specifically to ensure that the victims of the China's repressive policies can come and give their personal account and to tell you how they were personally affected by these suppression and the oppression, and also to let you know that when we talk in vague terms of human rights violations that are happening in Tibet, in East Turkestan, in southern Mongolia, to let you know that these people, these numbers that we quote, are also human beings, are also people who feel, who have emotions, and to whom you can relate and understand the kind of psychological pressure, the kind of physical torture that they go through. So to this year's witness account, we have Pinjok Nidon, the longest serving female former political prisoner. I would request interpreter Kande Tsumula to please escort Pinjok Nidonla to the desk, or to the dais, please. A brief biography of Pinjok Nidonla. She was born in Pembo, east of Lhasa in 1970, and she is one of Tibet's longest held female former political prisoners. At the age of 17, she joined Nyuchungri Nanari on 14 October 1989. She was first arrested for taking part in a peaceful pro-independence demonstration in Lhasa. She was sentenced to 9-year imprisonment on charges of counter-revolutionary propaganda and incitement against the masses, and for being a ringleader of the demonstration. While in prison in 1993, Pinjok, along with 13 other nuns, recorded songs of freedom in Drapchi prison, which led to the further extension of her imprisonment sentence by another 8 years, making her total prison term of 17 years. Due to international outcry and advocacy, Pinjok was released from prison in 2004 and later granted permission to leave for the United States for medical treatment for 3 months, and then moved to Switzerland, where she was granted political asylum. She was awarded the prestigious Reebok Human Rights Award in 1995. The award honors people around the world who have made a significant contribution to the cause of human rights against great odds. The June 4th Anniversary Committee and the China Peace also honored her for her courageous sacrifice in the field of human rights. When people ask us, what is the point of holding international outcry? What is the point of going on the streets and asking the world to recognize the human rights and press China to respect and guarantee the human rights of Tibetans? I think she is an example. Because of the people who went on the streets, because of the international community standing up and asking for justice and asking for the release, she is here. Please welcome to the witness account. Please welcome her to share her feelings, to share her account of her experience. Thank you.
zonga liyata chepse zombale narjo khanje ta tholeya ani ma ta shuya klengel shuya ku nam tendel tingje nam thoje ches shuya yin thang do
Tashidelek, and thank you very much, Tibet Bureau Geneva, for giving me this opportunity to share physical and kind of mental torture that I was subjected to undergo in this very important forum.
Nghe mình phân tích như thế anh ngay cái sự để phim bây giờ pala để xong bận anh amal bị cái drama anh ngay cái chỗ cái दिन rồi anh con đã ngay chung tu này là anh Lobsang khúc giáo như này là nhiều mẹ cái gì nó nghe 김장 대전 배 김장이야 안잖아 슝게 아니 부두리야데 럽정 국업 자원인의 전용 말 대송자랑을 랍데 템바감인 게 부두지.
My name is Punjok Newton. I was born to a Pemboy Yagarong family, a daughter of Tashi Wangbo and Pelgi. I did not get an opportunity to go to school because I belong to a family, the Chinese official labeled my family as reactionary classes. So Chinese government bars children belonging to so-called reactionary classes from attending school.
아니 개주ገብ된 rolle야 안날 하슬라 미중제 공부를 아니 체비 아니 개주ገብ된 rolle야다 ngapchunga go chele ya ta shönge ngogo shuk cheshu jigitun antene melum chimme kabla sende kesung kundibe utibe jele ya an lasale ngogo shuk chumbu shu lambre te kabla ngaranyam shu chenga ta ngawan chudong hanzu kombe ani mangbu chi yeta dige phele yore anyam shu chenela ta nganzu ne 구쇼 권한줄라 답조 어 아니 구쇼 권한줄다 때 개밀 땅 안줄라 배제 가르쳐는 독란다 아니 맨단이 뱉다 간에 개그다 간에 개그 고쳐야면도 근데 드라마스 찍듯 드라마에 백 지체하자면도 아니 답조 쇼즈면 가이 아 구쇼랑아래 쇼트나 세레 구쇼라 찍려야 아니 골로도 테넬이야 아니 차치님도 능가다 가wan 추run게 민즈가 나려야 맨롱가 친 야 민즈가 나려야 고치 타스 아니 매 암질라 코나즈 매 소라 망고시나 안 티게 키제라 마 요고 구실라 코나즈 피가체 마 민즈가 고나네 마치 타이면도 당금면도 불리세 마담 시자는 아니 이게 민즈가 개블로 캬 첨젤레 안 파고나 매 티게 키제라 구쇼 코나즈레 피.
So in 1987, there was a large demonstration across the Tibet, and that was the first demonstration led by Tibetans who were born after Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1987. And in 1988, during Lhasa Molam Festival, the Great Tibetan Prayer Festival, I, along with Ngawang Chetan and some more monks who are still in Tibet, joined the protest led by Sera, Tepung and Ganten monasteries. So we walked to the street and protest against the Chinese government. And during that time, the Chinese police, they hit the demonstrator indiscriminately, and protester was stoned, fired tear gas. Dozens of protesters were shot dead during that time. So a monk near to me they stoned everywhere. So the gunshot coming from all sides, and I saw a monk was injured severely. So I went with Ngawang Chetan to Sikyong, that's Tibetan Medical Institute, to get medicine and to help him. So we were able to get inside Medical Institute Sikyong to get medicines. But while coming out, we were stopped. We couldn't come out of Sikyong. So yeah.
안테네 개지교구 롱골라야 아니 나다 겐즈 엄문조 곰베 아니 나체네 첸마 곰바네 탈해살마 파용이 안 쇼방아 오치다 파고나 레소 마고나 레동안주 개번 벼랑쟁이 자우든지 겨주고 지칠로 템버셔스 아니 벼랑쟁이 익자 망부점이 대갑래다 쇼방아 오송자 아니 파고나 테니 몰라드니 또 미친다 망부스민도 몰라즈 간절 가르슨 것도 다 지수 고지 다 캐난줄 로로 지 지수 고지 지수 야고 총스 다 피네츠 마미 용고도 로로 치 송고도 안찬한 좀 많이 배 제장은 좀 연교 뭐고 전에 침바 몰라지게 나르베 주제리에 배 치나서 건저 신다 몰라 신다게 치나 장은 또 도스 배 카트람 대체네 아는 건저 되게 주요 말이.
In early 1989, one late night, I, along with Tenzin Wangmo and 5 other nuns, we secretly ran away from our quarters in Nunnery, and we walked to Lhasa. And we reached Lhasa Paco, Lhasa Square, main square, early in morning. So as soon we reached Lhasa Paco, we started distributing flyers calling for Tibet's independence and long life His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then march around Lhasa Square. Since it was very early in morning, there were only few elderly Tibetan women in the area. So we started protests and shouted slogans calling for long life His Holiness Dalai Lama and independence for Tibet. And some elderly women, they thanked us and insisted and requested us to leave the area immediately, and they informed us that Chinese authorities are coming towards us. But we did not listen. We continued our protest. So one elderly woman forcefully took me to one corner of the Lhasa Paco, and the other nuns were also forcefully taken away by other elderly women. That's how we were separated. But fortunately, on that day, the Chinese police could not arrest any of us.
Pagon to do Singni Tara, Perang Zain, Doughton Zika go to Chile Timbershots, Gave Singni Ran like Jaya Chumason, Kain is not to do Yana Shungel has a lot, Hakuchim like that, the work up to do it. Manzu gave it in its omas on the Reta, Murmire, Niendo, what a Kangatum Jilang and Tiki Juso, June and the Gutangali Gavre.
So in October 1989, I, along with Tinzi Wangmo and some other nun, we also started protests. And that time we were able to raise only two slogans, calling for Tibet's independence and His Holiness Dalai Lama, because during that time Tibet was completely under martial law. So we did not get chance to raise further slogans. So soon after raising these two slogans, we were taken away.
Anu guzal le de la ankonzo tira chia che da nganzo anikanga su khangba su re che tis khangwana angara le na tira chini gemi ni da phewa ni khesu anu khonzo ta tira che zenga ta tungde ta ya ke lakchan nen tram man ro khorang ara le do le pheje chesu anu tira khare chigdo sna khera ane gemi thajamame wala chalon chungyo jires khera khayan ji go chug mares khera gyabjon le ya an khera gyoksin ni ngwe chini jore ting anzol ji chi sho chen sik.
So we were able to raise only two slogans, Tibet independence and long life His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and immediately we were bundled and taken to Gunza detention center in Lhasa. And in the detention center, they have interrogated us several times. We were put in different cells, and I was asked constantly that who has instigated us to carry out the protest. And then they said, you are born under red flag and you know nothing about the situation. So somebody must be there to instigate the protest and keep on interrogating me to give the name who had instigated us to stage the protest.
nga phewa samse jeans nge gebla ngi chini je me ngara rang ge yongjo jeans de ta chen kran zo ane mi thu dos mi thu tige kine ane khachi ta nga zo dress ke je thong mares an kran zo thu tin kine ko thini jore ti su im bas an ares no ko thini de nga yin chim yong ko ya gyumje ta kharas na nga khis an komba ne ma thasalia an kombe chala lenga le yin an tudulia kundulia an novi shiti singda bi de kheurs ane thasalia sansuta zamshu ke tem de nang dos aya chinjeng kombal ya chinang ngan zo kombal ya an thar tindes tu ane tem de sang bu tindes tu san sang yu tike ya shin ane ngan zo druges ngan zo ngol druges te cha nge khonzo tike thi yung bins angara o tu skelim.
I was lectured again and said it is not possible that without having someone, it's not possible to gather it all to stage a protest. So they asked me to give the name who had led the protest. So I responded them that it is me, I only invited them to join the protest. Being a Champa eater, that's a Tibetan ballet eater, it's our responsibility, and I took the responsibility in staging the protest. So no one is behind our protest, and it's also completely under my responsibility for this protest. And then also I informed that I went to Lhasa the day before, and I have noticed that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been awarded a Nobel Nobel Peace Prize. And so soon after learning this, and I have told them to, because it's not possible in the monastery to celebrate the conferments, to celebrate the Nobel Peace Prize of His Holiness. So instead so we started protest. So that I have called them to protest. So I took the responsibility for staging the protest.
Angala nyeda kanjas tambras na konju lakja gya de ngala ja dusya gya yamar la dusya gya yamar kanjas gyras na la yawa ka ne chi yama wo ne chi juri ge ge gyso tudu nge la ko tungmen do ani nyeda wo jige tine zir jige tine zir bemen du zir de la bungbe chi ge pigen ta chok dres jil lolo ja la wo pige tums tumdu nyeda wo jig jog ze gang za an ten de tens ngare su gu ji ge ma the konju ya ten de And
if I talk a little bit about how I was tortured, and my hand, they handcuffed me, and my right hand was forced backward over my right shoulder with my left hand, and then they pulled back under my left armpit and handcuff. When my arms did not reach, did not stretch enough for the handcuff, they handcuff. Then my arms did not stretch far enough for the handcuff, and so my hand were dislocated. Then one of the guards they stood on the table and yanked me from the handcuff. So when the handcuff was removed, my right hand was just hanging like sleeves.
Antene gemi hamzi quality njal simbu quality njal tiki unjen nge zugunga dige zugu dige gange ganlia quality gemi semu ganne ma simbu jos nang shi khonzu semu re ganne dos simbu quality kap de zungde tendas jos tene gemi dirachin gemi jiga koran tama tin je ge gyani kera khadres tama go ro to ka me ganga meza ganga to su jen thanks.
And then they brought Then they brought cobbler's machine used for shoe sewing, and then Chinese guard forced my fingers into the machine and ramping the sewing needles right through all my fingers one by one into all my fingers. And then the Chinese prison guards, he put the cigarette birds were stuck on my mouth and saying that the problem is your mouth. And so they stuck the cigarette birds on my mouth.
Antene da nganzun tinde logo tinde yorol logo ma bawo shujel logo gang zugul logo ma zugul ti an khonze loi de ya je gabde khogba nang lumji ten ru gbe chona jel tene be chamba be thogdu chamba thodil ta go chumjang khonze chamba soya chedu chushe jel an chamba ya so jugdu chamba so del so so kana ne boris thonde mi so so khare cheme so so go chumdu.
Then they torture me with electronic button, and so they put the wire give the electric shock, and during that time I felt like all my organs were coming out and become unconscious. So when I became unconscious, they splashed water on my face to regain the consciousness, and again they used the give the electric shock.
And then konzo jagram power ta dile bam tinde king sra ni king je jige nga la go to sha jige de go ne shu jige me go ne shu je de dong dan tine konda ne da dis tambe ma cha da ngi ali kirna.
And then they hit me all parts of body with iron burden.
Ta nyeda tu spenye nyengang khora ta nyeda chene ge ote tan tang nga dige nyeda dige tambe ka ngar kep jeng ngu yira ngune ngu wi na ngem ne mek ju thekpa jik thungu mendo mek ju thekpa jik ma tong sa nyeda nembe sikdo karla go kera doksun lezle mendo kera doksule kera ning che dos subul ta ning che dos an kera beting jim shu resas yang gyong nyeda ko ne thagran tang do.
they tortured me very severely, and I cried actually, but I did not have tears. And then they again, I was subjected for further torture and saying that, see how cruel you are, your heart is bigger than your body. And then I was again subjected to further torture, saying that you are not crying, so no tears are coming out. I was tortured whole day without having a drop of water on that day. And at last, at the late night, I was moved to a small cell and house with only a thin mattress. And I desperately need a rest during that time, but I was unable to sit. And because my whole body was covered with black and blue bruises, so if I lean against the wall, and the pain emanating from the bruises were such unbearable that I could not sit. If I place my fingers of hands on the floor, and all my hands were suffering, had a bad because of the electric shock. So I was unable to sit that day.
안에는 건조 다섯 디그리 미만 층가 있으니 지가 땅안들래 안에 틈다제어리 안 핀조뱀에 다가랑에 러나 시 핀조뱀에 고 TV 인스켈렌샤 핀조뱀은 로 게다가로 로고 안 심벌 건조 시티게 로 숨숨 틈다제어리 안가다 핀조뱀은 접지 종갈 게어리
After a few days, I was transferred to Lhasa Intermediate Prison and sentenced to 9 years imprisonment. And also Pinzok Panmo, she also said that she led the protest, so she was also sentenced for 8 years, and other nuns were sentenced for 3 years. And then we were transferred to Dabchi prison.
And the Tabjing on that Yalam Yukan let the Rashing on the Yens Fenele. My Kuyak, Tindrich Sajatri. I know Kujuko, you Lolea, Danganzo, Pevelosa Gablea, Anne, Pevelosa Tawaching, Sumlea, Anne, Jizik, Tawasumbe, Tsenga, to Dunes, Kegadura. Until Yanganzo Chansu Shia to Langanzo meet doing a cloak combat. So Zonja Papi, so close to combat. Anna Conzo and the Chunda Lamishura, as a Chunda Latte, as a Daughter Lakona Chivra, no one Conzo Sambala, Konani game by Chivi, no one's chung and they get something in good something. Anganzo Tigega, when you cut TV in a mart and t shirts, can the TV on the chalities, cloak on your chines, Ganzo gave it, the Ganzola Mermi Tune, Mermonep, Ganzo Chiga, Merming or Dungudra. And then when the best saw chins, some saw David Marilla was Chumas on that saw that saw Drea rank, Marilla Betard Chusra, take up Tindrechilea, Chepsi Zomba Mayimba Zomba Pru, Giguna Netonja, that Coranzo, Gangi Table, Yanga Yordo, that poem be Shingota like it, this and Conzo gave it here. Manzu Missel to go, and the Mammy Manzo Nieta Tandu Shaz Conzo Sachinsra, and Tindrechen on the sword task. The Manzo Ganga saw the listening a Kahamba Chica Yuruman, the Kasheta saw driving a Gajak Gasha Tudra, the Tandangara Sovalang, yes, so knew the Conzo Nanga in some bang on the sword in the Gigado.
So the situation in Dabchi prison was like hell on earth. So we were subjected to series of torture. And in 1992, March 5th, 6th, and 7th, the dates coincide with. So that was the Tibetan Losar Day, Tibetan New Year. The dates coincide with the demonstration in 1988, March 5th, 6th, and 7th. So in order to commemorate those dates, we removed prison clothes and wear our own casual clothes to commemorate the day. And then my co-prisoner Chungta, who's also here in the hall, and Tawadroma were the eldest among the nuns in Dapchi prison. So they were forcefully taken away to other detention centers because the Chinese police or authorities, they thought that if they took the eldest nun among us, then the younger one will stay quiet and will not stage any protests. But then we started protest when they were forcefully taken away from the prison. So we started protest and called the Chinese authorities to take us also along with them. And so regardless, the prison authorities took Chungdak and Tawadroma, and there were at least 6 to 7 Chinese police guards for each nun and beating severely. So we were like swept with 6 to 7 Chinese police. So beating us severely and leaving us nearly dead. So if I look back to that day, I strongly feel that the non-political prisoner Tibetans who were in detention number 2 really saved us. Because when the Chinese police beat us severely and we were shouting, and then the non-political prisoners in detention center 2, they powerfully shouted for help, save the life and all. They also said they were killing our people. So these forced the Chinese police to leave our cell and rush towards there. And this action, I believe, has saved us and gave a second chance of our life. I may be overstating if I say all nuns during that time would have killed, but I can say for sure that at least 3 or 4 nuns would have been killed if they did not shout for help.
And then I go to Cosmo Layang and it's the shed cherry, shed the Gundulia Tuluta, and Perangze, and Zongana Nedan Gola teacher. They cannot tell you how Quaja Layang and Zolea Lo Ngane Gubarak, and a Taji cherry, and Aralan to do Lojek, Kanechep, Mukendonga Lojudin, that in Jelojudin Jeff Tindit.
Then in 1993, and we a group of 14 nuns in Dapchi prison, we secretly recorded Tibetan songs dedicated to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the independence for Tibet and the situation in Chinese prison. So upon learning these songs, the Chinese officials further interrogated us multiple times, and then following this, the prison sentence of Dapchi nuns, we were further our imprisonment was increased, and I was sentenced to another 8 years with a total of 17 years prison sentence.
And go to Gongo go to Lilia, the Consongan to Tonganalea, Mummy Jongda Jezelia, Mummy Jongdan Nangshi, but Mummy Nangshi, Chivis, to Pomeris, Lox Kayam, but Mummy Nangshi, did you antenne Kangana La Zangma Suja, and Nieja to get the Mummy stop the Nangshink stitcher. Tanganzo keep a channel of Conzo Jingman to Sanzo Lanieta Tang. Tanganzo the Generanzo chips the Zombazo Trudicha, Tanganzo Conzo Lawa, the Shinishi Gurishas, the Lamaran Sajang Guchevas, and on the Sajang Guchay, Manzuta Niagana Yunjo Chatham, the power the Chatham, Chilo Dangel, and on the Sajang Guzui. You must know what little Conzo Ichi Chigimindo, Manzo Tondo Chukonje, she's like Heranzo, Karishan Sajang Guchiguasa, and Manzo Demon. She has some Mendocia and Dylan around the Shinishi Gurish and the Sajang which she yes, she's a current Kenny, Jizog and Kenny, Lokjeva. She's current, she's not rotting on the Kenyan or Yuksha. What interesting.
And in 1996, we were forced to undergo a rigorous military-style training. So women prisoners had to undergo the training as men go, and there was no exception for women. So we had to compete with men prisoners and all. So even though we carefully folded our beds and keep ourselves clean, the prison guard always found some fault on us and subjected us to endless torture, often beating us. So we all arrived at the consensus that our deaths are certain. So we decided to go on a hunger strike. So we staged a hunger strike protest. For the next 4 days, we did not even drink a drop of water, and some of nuns were becoming so weak. And on the 3rd day of our hunger strike, the prison staff, they called us for a meeting, and they did not believe that we were actually on the hunger strike. And then they asked the reason why we are staging hunger first or hunger strike. And then we said that so instead of dying from endless tortures at the hand of prison guards, we would choose to die by our own conditions. We would choose to die by ourselves. And to our great dismay, they did not believe that we were actually on hunger strike. And then they said, they mocked us, our efforts, and saying that you all are welcome to kill yourself and you can die as your wish. Your lives are worthless.
And then you see the nature of the Tango, so we go to the Tajimika or Tandeva Jigi, Chikaneka, she took Mundo, and Nedigan, a lamb for Tugmundura, and she never comes to yet in the Konzonga to Tondokons, and the Lama to the Chazomba Maim, Bezomba letter, Mini Nigan, the Rigio, Jelamat, Nedigan, and Mapa, Josopan, and Konzok, and Jetty, and Konzation, the Karanzo, Sajang with Zamsha. Nganzu jima ne mo chi me yon kran zo nganzu tin ni ta tin de ni ma na shi che ma yon khonzo nganzu le ati chas ta nganzu sam ba khonzo khe tin de len zan le ya ngone ke lag len ta ke sam ja nganzu sa ja ngo go sam sha ri an am ji ha sang do nganzu su bu le ta kran zo su bu pe sa sha sta min dos an am ji khan de chu dos nganzu la khala lam sa khap ta kal khala je ju mun do che na le ya cham ba le chi kyap je ani chepse zomba ma yin ba zomba thur le ya ani thoma khan che 제주도 지금 칼라 레트 치면 난 주기마 간가 동경레스 안 칼라 치면 합득할 수 없고레스 대자는 건 줄라 때 멘데데레 제주 디저 이내로 콘조 샤와데 라렌자 따 말 못하는 건 니다 다가란 담버리
On our fourth day of hunger strike, and on hunger strike, we became so weak that we were unable to stand on our own feet, and we were not able to get out from our beds. So some of my fellow nuns were on the verge of death. So after witnessing our dire conditions and the health condition, the prison authorities, they realized that we were serious on hunger strike. We are really on hunger strike. So they urged us to eat, and they promised us that they will stop beating us. However, they failed, and they did not kept their words. They keep us beating as usual. And when the prison doctor see us, and he was shocked and deeply disturbed to see our conditions, and saying that we won't be able to regain our health now. And he also advised the prison authorities to do not give food or large amount of food for us, and serve a very small amount of food, because our body is not in a condition to digest all those. So the prison doctor advised the prison authorities to just give a small amount of champa Tibetan barley with water, and give as a medicine a very small amount to digest. So for 4 days, just leave alone food, we did not have a drop of water.
근데 국제고 별로래야 간주 범에 종강게 된텔래야 군주 탄지 치수요래 랍다치 안 탄지 될래야 안에 국제고 별게 다왕아에 처워지래야 군주 개미 개다서 안간주 치요 말이 첩세 좀 봐마인 베다 부처네 망부치다 군주 개로 당 같은 안 군주인데 남상 첩세 좀 봐마인 베좀 배 ngo고 쳐서 될래야 벼랑제 인승간주 배회사제 간래 개미 개다 쭉 쳐마요 송고 될머미 장내 지치데 멘덕직 개들라 nganzu korena la mendeke da mige the mendeke di chias jamdo ne tangare sola kharleso ta thanji de chaage kirso ta phongbo gore gyando ye sambe chawajleso.
Then on 1st May 1998, in front of women's prison, there is a big square. So during that day, all the non-political prisoners, Tibetan prisoners, were taken for the flag hosting, and we were not taken out. So all the non-political Tibetan prisoners were gathered during the flag hosting. So, however, on that day, from a non-political Tibetan prisoners, a loud cry calling for Tibetan independence, and then calling that Chinese are not allowed, Chinese cannot house a Chinese flag on Tibetan land, and so such a huge loud cry came out, and then the Chinese police started gunfire, and so I during that time, the feeling, my feeling was that the whole square would have covered with full blood.
Antene yanggyo tsawa shilia khunzu geta yanggyo zu de la ngan zu thi me za tang ngan zu pinda ngogo go zu ta ngan zu korena na ngogo che ngogo gebe che yin do le ngan zu go korena sun ze gebe pa ke chik pa chilo ko to ya men do ngan zu zonggang ge gi gong gan la za je gebe che jinele ngan zu na lo che she go song za le che go na ne ke pa chilo ko to go men do an la we ya je ge ja gran tak stam la go ya je ge she go cha cha je in gebe che den bi ge chilo lo ko ne lam sa ma mi le ma mi le de ngan zu ta sa to yu ko yu se na ma ngan zu ge tan to kon de ma ja just kang ma yu je la ani an zu tra ne che ja no ko re thi mi ka kang ko re thi me che.
Again, on 4th November, the Chinese police, they raised a flag. And during that time, we protest inside the prison. But our voice were not coming. We were completely, our protest, our slogans were not going out. So what we did was we clamped on the prison window. And so we broke the window in order to make sure our voice and our protest slogans are heard by the Chinese police. So we protest, and immediately the police and the prison guard, they stormed into our prison cell, and they brutally beat us with belts and kicked us mercilessly, and then they dragged us.
Antena mami la ko la cha khar yo ta lo yu yo re chap zu yo ta mami lan la cha nye ta ya la cha dram man ro ta ti kha the te khor tung di khor tu ta no ne thon de zam sha den don den mi de su yi me ngo sing me de su ro ko su ngo ma shin ba tin de cha.
So they beat us with whatever they get in hand. They have belt, they have stick, and whatever they get in hand, and beat us all parts of body. And so they beat us so severe that even so our prisoner nuns become so fully covered with blood and bleeding from heads and face and all parts of bodies, and our face would become unrecognizable.
Antena chang ngan zu khang ban na lia chu bur khon zu ya pe ta nyen che me wa nya ga na lia chu je lia ta tin ja khang ba thu she chi ga na la mi chung ni ta nye ji ni za ge je tin ja chang ge mi chung ni yor ta mi chung ni la san ju san na da khar s na lia tin ja jek tin tin ja chun ju chi mi chung ni san ju ta dang se chep jin dang se ta ga sa sa ya ta ga ran ta chun ju tin ja mi chung ni son de le ning gu ne khang ge do ningun khang de ngun ngara la che shan le nye da le da zok jing ga ja ya de du du ta ningun ne ja gwang da hong zu chen da sa rum ne khadu sho ga ma dang po de dim ma she po de dong ma se po de dang ngun che jing khare ne kum de mo an de na ne ngun zu pho me re an kon zu thang ru gyap sa da chu khore ta na do ba thang ru shan ne dong thu ya ge chu za je le ngun zu li yo ma de da wa sum shi ngun zu kon zu da ga ran che je ja re da khoran zu ngun zu nye gang kon da le ya yong thu wa ma chi ma kha ne.
Then, since then, for 12 of us were put in a small cell, and only one bucket chamber pot was given to share among all of us. So for me, it's not just the physical torture that I was subjected to. The more problem that I faced was because it's for restraining oneself from toileting. So because we had only one small pot to share among 12 nuns, and this will be filled by the morning or by before the noon. So it's not possible to use that bucket chamber pot. So that was one of the most painful moment I had to undergo in prison. And then for 3 and 4 months, we do not have a drop of water to wash our face, to clean ourselves. And so being a woman, actually, we, by biological need, we need a special, special care or special things to keep ourselves clean. But that consideration was not there. And so the small cell would stink very bad. It stink very bad that even the prison guards, they hesitate to come inside.
Anjana shungi ta zunjin na le ya kharit khoi rasana na ane zomba le ya tawa ji thukde chik che chogu yes ko yor ine la ngara the kab le yan ta ngara tawa thuk tha ji ge thukde kang go ches.
according to Chinese prison law, what they say is that family members of prisoners can meet the prisoner once in a month. However, my family members were denied visitation rights for me around 6 months.
안간질래가 가라스나 니레 발렌라야레 발렌다 빈도 파디 있는 독도 텐제 찍라 그래 빈도 반바디는 독도 니라 그래 안디 말론 왜 있는 건지 능미 툭제제 치주고 말이 당아랑 원하시는 능미 툭제도 비자 춤북지기 파말래야지 깨제시야 지야 맞춘다네 파메 동통부상게 아주 대화리자 섬사를 중고도 근데 차선 바다실라고 용네 지기요 다야가 돼서 차고도 긴거는 남시 정말 대가는 건서 강박한 거 샬라리 라벤 티게 강가 캬바 게임니 라코르 통문도 롱고 코르민도 안 돼서 되네다 도안 직도 부주강리야 부글려 국자 주시 춘지도 같들이 쇼바야 라네 진짜 권다 마코란 주 뉴스 뭐 까드말레 포도는 다가랑간 니면 니가 다가랑간 때니 오늘 나를 진과 뱉어서 국주 kopyanne 니동 시보다 메서 다가랑 진고 되서 만 내버려서는 나서 왜 탁수 이나 예산 레벨 진고 되니까 내가 텐제 미로 이나 나 텐제 전에 진고 뱉어서 단대이네 국자관 주름보다 다가랑 쳐기도.
So as a part of forced labor, we were forced to knit sweaters. So each day we had to fulfill the mandatory quota of knitting 1 sweaters, that's equivalent to 4 grams of very thin yarn and 2 sang for heavier yarn. So if we fail to meet that quota, the family visitation will be denied. So for me, meeting a friend, meeting my parents, is not whether just seeing their face gives me immense pleasure and happiness. So that's very important, and I sincerely and all the day I knit the sweaters just to meet my parents, because I do not want to miss that visitation opportunity. But so during summertime it was okay, but in the cold dark winter, then we sat on a hard wooden stool the whole day. So the winter's time, it's worse time. So when our hands would become a sore from constant weaving, and we were punished with beating if we use a small piece of cloth as a cushion to sit on stool. But the constant pressure, so we cannot use that piece of cloth to keep ourselves warm. So the constant pressure from sitting on the hard stool gave me a bad stools around my hip. So I still have a problem sitting on stools due to the injuries sustained while in prison.
So na ta kunde ko thoji ka den wala ya ananga lo chute ne nga lo chunge an tene ta jing ananga songa je le ya ane ta zonga ne ma thön thu changso ena zonga ne lewi ne lewa mingzam ji mi sho ji gi nga rawang tin tsu ji thom nyo me kais na nge na khora ki mi nyen do ko te je le na la chu ju yong se me nang mi pha ju chin ne la tho go chi go tin je jing na sang ju tin jing tham ra tin jing lo ni de wi.
So I lived under such a miserable condition every day in my imprisonment from 1989 to 2004 until I was freed, so for 15 years. And because of the grace of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the international community, I was released 2 years before my imprisonment. So I was put in prison for 15 years but then I was not actually freed. I was put under house arrest.
Condition she kundu touch katinda ane ta nyamje ge zore ari an kanjita ge go chowa mai chowa an chungri mai be chowa thana mi ge ge wala ya an nga menje ge ming thol ne ari lew thinje chi.
So as I said before, because of the grace of His Holiness Dalai Lama and international community and the all human rights groups, I was allowed to travel to United States for medical treatment.
So
Switzerland has granted me a political asylum, so I'm currently living in Switzerland.
단다 쉬셔 되는 건데 튼튼튼들 nga 정은 쉬는 쉬사야 허리 염을 니면 니면 쉬내는 쉬사 염을 또 이내라 다른 nga래 루큐를 빼때 정에 캐나저 쉬는 게 양바 영아 텐데 체윈 쉬고메로 nga래 루큐를 빼려네 더 나라야 첩스 좀 받다 tanda ine nedan tagara tile dogma shune dogma nele yagas yomro nedan tagaran yoris ngedin ngare liul nyangba tele pe shujel shuguyo.
So what I had just shared was just a part of the kind of physical and mental torture that I was subjected to undergo for 15 years. And so if it's not possible for me to share each and every incident and each and every experiences that I had to undergo, and I would need days and days to share all the stories. So what I shared probably was the experience and the torture that I had to undergo is I shared it just to not just to say I had to go all those things, but because just to tell you that the situation inside Tibet, just to reflect a part of the situation inside Tibet, and the situation inside Tibet is not getting better, instead going worse. So this is just a part of, so through my personal experiences, I intend and I try to tell what's really happened in Tibet and what is really happening inside Tibet.
ngare ne tige kin ngone chakshu je sang do karsan na nga zonga na la so sho yo mari so ma shim zanga ta chi rawal ning ba tinja je le kun de thu je ka ding tinja je le thu bari ane thanda ina jik thudeng kan de ina re khari thol ina su su le khukup men je chia kan ji thone khukup yo ta phe na la cha sha na ngone zonga na ne ma thön ba ine rawal tin ju zum ji yo mari ane jik chwe ne dang kan la tin sa khayang ji yo mari ngone 직다 김자 매어란 차들다 지 견나숑 가르쳤다 정한나마 된겨다 차와 아니리안 직소소 건배라네리안 로초고므로 로주고 말이 딱 혼절레 직 레가르 제가 지내 지 미신다 지게다 사간나르 직 레가 제베 이네레 콘자 하고인 람산 사간텔리 고야주게 니와제야 답에 정한네 통역의 최소 중수 되게 솔직히 저 치마냐 배 록다 가야 콘저 빼다서 순 된저서 록다 가는다 콘저린다 직 손보 대인 대어점 지금 저 탄도 배 맨주도 직 최된 더 내지 용주 샤네 수수 예레 처배 내단데 칸데스키하고 유믹 곰다 계단 마신 붙인데 찾던데 내가 오늘 가서 정한나 매어이나다 지도관도 유네래 오늘 직 년천에 체마 큐베다 So
I feel that I was the most fortunate among all the political prisoners because I was able to come out of Tibet and I got the medical attention and I am free now. But all the political prisoners and also not only the political prisoners, also the former political prisoners, they really had even though they come out from prison, they continue to be under constant watch, under constant surveillance by the Chinese authorities. So most of the former political prisoners, they suffered a prolonged illness and they have a series of health complications because of the injuries they sustained while in prison. So many political prisoners die soon after releasing from prison, or they die at a very young age because of not being able to get the medical attention on time, and then many of died because of relapsing from the older health condition. And it's not only the health condition, also when the political prisoners they come out of prison, they had a problem in integrating with the larger Tibetan communities, because the policy that the Chinese government put for the political prisoner is that they ostracize, they just try to stop them from keeping contact with all Tibetan communities. And so it's not possible for political prisoners to get job. And if some kind people, they offered a job, kind of security guard, kind of working in the hotel. But it's not only the political prisoner, also one who has given the job to the political prisoner were put also under risk. So the situation of former political prisoners is like more or less like a homeless. They do not have a community, or they cannot keep contact with friends. And then the monks and nuns, political prisoners, they were not allowed to go back to their monasteries and nunneries.
Ang konsunne tongone subvenation hadin kyore mengana mengso tonga la le nyeda ge chikchi ani ji saja kane ta chedan da jeba khaya ji meden ngone subvenna da pekyo sunza ta mengan la dwala ne pesha menana mengan roya khor yo mar su na sa khari chongbo inele to nyere su 처바게야 배샤 메들 또 맹간 줘야겠니 배샤제 요 말월 또 내단 단대 차르진다 때 니마 알아 유백거게 딘졌다 단다 저는 먼저는 거 그러 요마다 내가 몇 도르면서 지게 지도로 니르네 니르 도르 다 탄다네 변하려야 오늘 좀바 가자요 하고 교시하는 정강 가자요 고쳐야 요 말은 근데 국교 예절로 상황의 정가 중에 다단다 능미지 나위는 능미대 제중 최야거리 요 말도 진짜 내단 차오는 별
And the situation of former political prisoner is very grim, and so those who need a medical attention, they cannot go to hospital because they cannot afford the financial support for going the medical condition, for going the medical treatment. And so this is the situation that during when I was in Tibet, and now we can imagine that the situation is becoming severe now. And just leave the numbers of political prisoners inside Tibet. We cannot count. We cannot say how many prisons are there in Tibet right now. Every corner there is a detention. Every corner there is a prison. So we do not know the numbers of prison in Tibet. So even a family member disappeared, when a member of a family were forcefully taken away from home, and the family member, they cannot identify where he or she was put in. So that's the situation inside Tibet, and so that's what is happening inside Tibet. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Phuntsogngidullah, for sharing the heart-wrenching story of the torture that you suffered. And not only that, but showing courage and bravery while suffering that torture and not losing hope. One of the songs that she mentioned, sung by the singing nuns, goes something like this. We've sung a song of sadness. We've sung a song of sadness, we've sung it from the Drapchip prison. Like the happy and joyful snow mountains, we've sung this song for the sake of freedom. Previously, a spiritual realm of dharma now is changed to a barbaric prison ground. Even at the cost of our lives, we Tibetans will never lose our courage. Thank you so much, Phuntsogngidullah. I would request the President of Central Tibetan Administration, Honorable Sikyong Dr. Lobsang to please hand over a memento to Phuntsogngidullah, and I request the audience to please stand up and give her an applause, and to all the political prisoners who are suffering inside Tibet and China. I say this, and I think everyone will agree, that we are sincerely very, very sorry that you had to suffer this, but we will ensure that we, as long as are alive, will work and see that we are able to go back to Tibet and live in freedom. Thank you so much. Before we disperse, please take your seat. I just have one small announcement. Before we disperse, Our lunch break will start immediately, and after that, we have a visit to the Tibet Museum photo exhibition, which is being conducted in front of the UN building near the broken chair. So please do visit. You will be able to see the history of Tibet and also some of the documents, some of the narrations of political prisoners like herself. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience and for joining us in respecting the political prisoners. Thank you.